Have you ever imagined what it would be like to live in the 60s, for real? I'm not talking about vintage filters or vinyl records. I'm talking about Cold War cars driving around on the streets, seemingly endless lines, no internet, and Coca-Cola only if it's for tourists. And look, if you're lucky, there'll still be light enough to take a hot shower. Welcome to Cuba, a country that seems to have been frozen in time. It's like stepping into a time machine and going back to the past, full of contrasts, but with a nostalgic drama that mixes charm and tension, leaving you not knowing whether to laugh or worry. Before you think this is just a criticism or that look at the poor country talk, calm down, because Cuba is magical but contradictory. Today, we are going to cross this parallel universe together. And maybe, in the end, you will discover that there is more of Cuba in you than you imagined. 1. First impressions. In the first few days in Cuba, one thing became clear: this country surprises you at every turn. You think you're going to find only ruins, crisis, scarcity, and then you find people laughing. Lots of people laughing. Cubans are like that, warm, talkative, good at chatting. You can't walk 2 blocks without hearing a joke, a life story, or a que vola with an accent full of friendliness. But the most impressive thing is this: they can handle it. Because, let's be honest, life here is hard. And it's not hard like, oh, the 3G is slow. It's real hardship. To get food, to charge your cell phone, to watch a video on YouTube without freezing your soul. Everything is scarce. Everything takes time. Everything is complicated, and yet they carry on. Laughing, joking, welcoming you as if you were family. It's as if they have learned to dance with the chaos. And you know what? It's beautiful to watch, sad but beautiful. 2. Lights, camera, and blackout. If there's one thing that defines everyday life in Cuba, it's suspense. But not the kind you see in the movies. It's the suspense of, will there be electricity today? Because here, electricity is like a visit from a distant relative. It appears every now and then, and disappears without warning. There are days when the power goes out in the morning and only comes back on at night. There are weeks when it simply doesn't come back on. And the craziest thing is that there are places where it's more common to have no power than to have it. The residents don't even say they cut the power anymore. They say, today they turned the power back on. Yes, they did as if it were a gift, a favor from the universe. And when the light comes, no one relaxes. On the contrary, everyone gets nervous, because it could go away at any moment. You can feel the tension in the air. Turn everything on, charge everything, make food, take a shower before it runs away. It's routine. It's normal. It's part of the game. But think about it. If it's already stressful to lose power in a neighborhood with infrastructure, imagine in a hospital. Imagine with a small child. Imagine in the middle of the Caribbean summer without a fan. Cuba lives in a constant blinking and blinking. But there's no Christmas. Just reality. Very harsh. 3. Soviet cars. Walking around Havana is like leafing through a photo album from the past. Only instead of looking at the photos, you're inside them. The streets look like a set from an old movie. The 60s, 70s, the Cold War. And the cars? Oh, the cars are true warriors from another era. There are Ladas, Moskvich, Volgas, all from the former Soviet Union. They are relics in motion. Each one runs on a mechanical miracle in the background because spare parts, my friend, forget it. Around here, being a mechanic is not just a profession, it's alchemy, haha. These guys must make engines out of blender parts and makeshift wire. They are geniuses. I think that if they went abroad, they would build a Tesla out of scrap metal. But don't think that there are only old cars. Every now and then, a modern car passes by. Almost always with diplomatic plates or from someone who is well connected with the government, if you know what I mean. And then the contrast hits you in the face. A brand new Audi driving by peacefully. And next to it, a Lada emitting so much smoke that it looked like my gossipy neighbor at the gate. All that was missing was a cigarette in her hand. That's it. Cuba is a surreal mix of a stifled past and an improvised present. Charming? Yes. but also sad. Because when you look closely, you realize these cars are stuck in time. But the ones who are really stuck are the people, 4. Transportation the Cuban way. If cars are already a relic, imagine public transportation. In Cuba, taking a bus can feel like a trip back in time or a test of patience with the special participation of the 40-degree heat. You walk down the street and see yellow school buses. The ones you see in American movies. But here, they've been retired from school for a long time and have now become public transportation. They take everyone, everywhere, slowly, crowded, and with that charm of someone who's seen too much in their life. And wait, it gets even worse. There are the so-called cocoa taxis, which look like helmets with wheels. A tricycle shaped like a yellow coconut that rocks more than an old boarding house bed. It sounds like a joke, but it's serious. It's the island's true Uber, with no app, no door, and plenty of excitement. And then there are the motorcycles with sidecars, the ones with a card on the side, like in a World War II movie. But there's no war here, at least not an official one. Because the way the buildings are, it looks like bombs have already dropped. Ha ha ha. Not to mention the daily battle against the heat, the potholes, and the system. But the height of creativity comes when you leave the capital. That's where you'll find the most traditional form of transportation of all, the horse-drawn carriage taxi, with a sign that says taxi, a tired horse and a passenger praying for it not to rain. I felt like I was in the countryside of Sierra, riding slowly and getting snorted in the face by a horse. Seriously, Uber here, nays. But you know the craziest thing? It works. People adapt, because when the system doesn't take you, you find a way to keep going. 5. Cuba offline, the drama of technology. Do you know that agony of being without internet for 5 minutes and already thinking the world is ending? Well, in Cuba, that's called Monday, and Tuesday, and Wednesday too. Here, Wi-Fi is like a miracle. When it appears, everyone runs to take advantage of it. And that's no exaggeration, huh? Until recently, watching a video on YouTube was practically an impossible mission. And do you know what people did? El paquete. A package of videos recorded on flash drives and DVDs. Yes, Cubans used to watch their favorite YouTubers a week later on a flash drive bought on the corner. Watch the latest video on the channel. Latest from 2 Thursdays ago. No notifications, no comments. It was like Netflix from the Stone Age. Offline version. No spoilers, because no one saw it at the time. In fact, no one even knew it had come out. Haha. And downloading apps? Forget it. If you have an iPhone, you can only do it with a VPN, a foreign account, and a lot of prayers. On Android, you can still get by. But if you have an Apple account, good luck installing WhatsApp. Some people go to specialized repair shops just to be able to use their own cell phones. Yes, a repair shop, like fixing an engine, but only to open Instagram. And here comes the height of irony. To schedule an appointment to fill up with gas, you need to use the internet. That's right. The country where the signal drops out more than an absent father forces you to go to a website to fill up your car. In Cuba, the internet is like everything else on the island. Slow, limited, and full of makeshift solutions. But even so, they find a way. Because if there's one thing Cubans know how to do, it's a miracle without a YouTube tutorial. 6. The Cuba that tourists don't see. You thought you had seen it all, didn't you? Take a deep breath, because now comes the hard part. The part that doesn't appear in tourist photos, but is the Cuban reality. Let's start with a delicate subject, saying what you think. Because in Cuba, this isn't as simple as it seems. You know that friend who gives too much of an opinion in the WhatsApp group? Here, he could disappear. It's not a conspiracy theory, no. There are artists, journalists, YouTubers who were silenced, and it wasn't due to the algorithm, you know? One of the most well-known cases was that of rapper Denise Solis, who was arrested for contempt for criticizing the government. There was also the artistic group Movimiento San Isidro, who went on hunger strike and was repressed all because they wanted freedom of expression. It's not a legend. It's not an exaggeration. It's the kind of thing that still happens. Now hold on to this. You must have heard that healthcare in Cuba is a world reference, right? That's right. They just forgot to mention that many clinics are falling apart, even lacking disposable gloves. Some surgeries are performed with equipment from the 80s, and post-operative care is done with faith in God. Are there qualified doctors? Yes. But if the patient doesn't even bring the adhesive tape, it doesn't happen. In education, the talk is similar. Yes, there is a school. But young Cubans dream less about a diploma and more about a passport. Because studying is great, but living a life where you can dream is even better. You can easily find retired doctors begging on the streets. That's where the great national dream comes in, to leave. Yes, leaving Cuba is the new passing the college entrance exam. There are people who sell their houses, refrigerators, mattresses, even the fan that only worked when they wanted it to. All of this to try to cross borders, get on a boat, and hope to arrive alive. That's it. While we're here choosing a pizza flavor for delivery, there are people in Cuba choosing which route is least dangerous to escape. And now, let's look at this major contradiction. Tourists who visit Cuba live in a VIP version of the island. Air conditioning, a hotel with mojitos, Wi-Fi, and even a little shop selling Coca-Cola. It's like a theme park of the revolution, with everything included. But you leave the hotel, turn a corner, and the world changes. The facade falls, literally, and there you have the real Cuba, with blackouts, cocoa taxi, and a loaf of bread a day. Because even with censorship, blackouts, lack of food, and a salary of $20 a month, there are smiles, there is art, there is faith. The music still plays on the sidewalk. The dance still exists, even without a speaker. Cubans still resist, believing that better days will come. Supermarkets? Only with a password and luck. You know that classic scene at the end of the month, when the fridge is empty and you run to the store? In Cuba, it starts with a notebook. Yes, every Cuban is entitled to a libreta de abastecimiento, a kind of magic pass to buy the essentials: rice, sugar, coffee, and, with luck, a loaf of bread a day. 1 bread per day. And it's not like, I'll go to the market and choose what I want. Nothing like that. You can just go to the grocery store in your neighborhood, show your little booklet, prove that you live there, say how many people live in the house. And that's it. You get your share counted by the grain. Today, sir, you're entitled to 5 pounds of rice and 1 bar of soap. Come back next month. If you want more, you'll have to buy it at the normal market, which is so expensive that the normal becomes a luxury. And then comes the sad part. The daily bread often goes to the child. The mother? She goes without, because snacks are a priority. And it's not just about food, it's about control. It's about living on the basis of, there's enough for today, God knows tomorrow. And the most ironic thing of all is to think that, during the alliance with the Soviet Union, these bodegas were full, stocked, plentiful. Today, there are days when there's not even salt. That's it. In Cuba, even the basics are rationed. And the market is just another reminder that there, living is not about consuming. It's about resisting. 7. Cuba in inhabited ruins. Have you ever seen a building about to collapse? The one with the caution tape, the risk of collapse sign, the civil defense warning? Now imagine people living inside it. In Cuba, this is common. It is not an exception. It is routine. Cracked buildings, full of mold, without structure, and with clothes hanging out of the window. And yes, a sign of life in the midst of abandonment. There are families living there, children playing in the hallway. Bathroom? Is it a bucket? Kitchen? Coal or firewood? Faucet? When there is water. And when they ask, "Why are you here?" the answer is simple: because I have nowhere to go. That tears you apart inside. And the craziest thing is that many of these buildings have already been officially condemned. The government ordered them to evacuate, but evacuate to where? The answer of many is, it is better to live in danger than not to live at all. This is the stark, raw, and unvarnished reality. A Cuba that no one shows in advertisements, but that lives, literally, among the rubble. 8. Gas with a password and patience. Filling up your car in Cuba is no easy task. Actually, It's not even a task. It's like the saga of the 12 houses. First, you can't just go to the gas station. You have to make an appointment, online, in a system, with the internet. Yes, the internet, the one that's already a legend here. You log into an app, choose the date, wait for confirmation, and hope, because your place in line could be number 923 of 1,774. Then you wait 2, 3, 5 days. Oh, and what if you run out of gas before it's your turn? Good luck! The most common solution is to ask someone to lend you some of their own tank. Literally, brother, give me a drop, my car died on the corner. And if you think that, at least, gasoline is cheap, it's not. The price is the same as in developed countries, but the minimum wage? Less than $30 a month. In other words, filling up your car is almost a luxury for rich people. And do you know what's even more ironic? There are gas stations where you can pay in dollars. Quick, easy, direct. But only for those with an international card. In other words, tourists and the elite. The people, they remain in line, waiting for a turn that may never come. While the gasoline evaporates just like patience. 9. The money dilemma and the exchange rate theater. Money in Cuba is a confusing thing. So confusing that it seems like it was invented to drive you crazy on purpose. Until recently, there were two official currencies, the CUP and the CUC. It was like normal money and the money plus. Then the government decided to do away with one of them. But guess what? The confusion continues. Because today, in Cuba, there are two values for the same dollar. The official rate, which you exchange at the bank, is around 110 pesos per dollar. And the street rate, which is what really works, 350 pesos per dollar. In other words, if you're smart and exchange at the bank, you'll lose 2/3 of your money. But if you go to the money changer, that guy who says, "Past change," you'll triple the amount. Welcome to the currency exchange theater. And believe me, this logic applies to everything. Tourists learn quickly. Go to the black market and exchange money on the street. Because anyone who tries to follow the rules will go hungry. And this is not just a joke, it is reality. Because here, money is worth today, but no one can guarantee it will be worth it tomorrow. Inflation, crisis, worthless paper. You literally see the currency disappear in your hands. So, yes, Cuba didn't just have two currencies, it had two realities. The one that's in the speech of the university professor wearing a Che t-shirt saying that it's a paradise of equality. And the one that the people really live in, hard work, lines, notebooks, and makeshift arrangements to get soap. One reality is on paper, full of pretty theories. The other is on the street, and stinks of mold. And guess which one pays the bills? 10. In the end, whose fault is it? And here comes the burning question. Why is everything so difficult in Cuba? Why is there a lack of electricity, gasoline, toilet paper, Coca-Cola, freedom? Why does a country with so much potential seem stuck in time? Their official answer is just one. The economic blockade by the United States. According to the Cuban government, the crisis stems from the embargo that the Americans have imposed for decades, the famous El Bloqueo blockade that prevents the entry of products, investments, international aid, and, according to many here, even toilet paper. Yes, you hear people saying that they wipe their asses with newspaper because the other can't enter the country. But then comes the other side of the coin. Many people, including those within Cuba, say that the problem is not just the blockade. It is also the blockade of the country itself from within, the closed system, the lack of freedom, state control of almost everything. Do you want to open a company? Okay, but don't grow too much, okay? Because after 100 employees, the government takes over. Do you want to sell your own product? Haha, how naive. You have to hand over 90% to the state and survive on the rest. That's why so many people say the blockade does exist, yes, but the worst part is what comes from within. It's the eternal struggle in Cuba. Two discourses, two truths, one people suffering in the middle. But tell me, which of these versions do you believe? If you've made it this far, do the following. Comment below, Cuba, just so I know who's the real deal and went all the way. And take the opportunity to share this video with your communist friend. Yes, that one. He'll love it or not. And hey, don't forget to click on the video that's showing on the screen now. See you there. See you later.